here we are because Andrew Friedman does it once again. Another big move pulled off by the best executive in all of Major League Baseball. And I think officially solidifies unanimously now for any Dodger fan that this goes down as an A+ off season. Mark Feinsand with the credit for breaking Tanner Scott to the Los Angeles Dodgers on a 4-year, $72 million contract. Kevin Klein here doing a spontaneous solo show because we got word actually a couple days ago. I think it might have been John Morosi that Tanner Scott's decision was near. And boom, breaking news, Tanner Scott chooses the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I emphasize the word chooses because according to Bob Nightingale on Blue Sky Social, the Red Sox actually offered more years at a higher AAV for the most coveted top tier free agent on the board from day one of this offseason. And yet Tanner Scott chose the Los Angeles Dodgers at the tune of 4 years, $72 million. What is going on, everyone? Thank you guys for tuning in. Get your questions in there. Get any comments you have in there. How do you feel about Tanner Scott coming to the Los Angeles Dodgers, a name I've been talking about for a couple of years, my favorite relief pitcher that wasn't wearing a Los Angeles Dodgers uniform, because I truly do believe this is a special talent. And now we get to watch him probably close games for the Dodgers for the next 4 years. I imagine that the Dodgers are going to probably turn to Tanner Scott for the majority of save opportunities during the regular season. We all know in the postseason, it's a different story, but I have to imagine at that contract, Tanner Scott will be the closer for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And this is a big name to add, no doubt about it. Andrew Friedman typically doesn't shell out big money to relievers like this. He hasn't done this since go back to Kenley Jansen, who obviously is a Hall of Fame closer and had earned that $80 million contract or whatever that range was, but I know it was a very high figure. And since then, Friedman, for the most part, will pay some sizable contracts, but nothing near this stratosphere of $72 million. I know Blake Treinen's gotten some nice money from the Dodgers. Obviously, Joe Kelly's gotten some nice money from the Dodgers, but nothing even close in years since this 4-year, $72 million contract of Tanner Scott. The Dodgers just continue to run the offseason. I have to imagine all of Major League Baseball is just fuming right now. They are pissed. People are going to come up with all kind of wacky rules to try to handicap the Dodgers. We have completely changed the narrative. We went from being the franchise that no one took serious and we're presumed Detroit Lions like chokers. And now that we've won 2 World Series in this decade, all of their 29 teams are just really scared right now. You look down at San Diego, they're just super nervous Nellies out there, and it's quite a scene right now. Yankees fans are pissed, who had a notorious reputation for decades of spending upon spending to get all the best players. And now New York is no longer the premier destination. It is Los Angeles. And we've seen that 2 off seasons in a row. Started with Shohei Ohtani when Shohei Ohtani put himself in a Dodgers uniform, and it was just a trickle effect from there. Yamamoto, who played a big part in recruiting Roki Sasaki, as did Shohei Ohtani himself. And now you've got guys like Blake Snell, Roki Sasaki, Tanner Scott, all joining the Los Angeles Dodgers. So we're going to dive into kind of what this offseason has now looked like for the Dodgers, and it's just been remarkable. So we've got BC in here. Thank you, BC, for tuning in. Brandon Colston saying that the Dodgers are not done. Love to see it. Jess Rosebud, good morning. I don't understand why my team is so hated. The Dodgers are awesome. Craig Osterberg, MWG, Nicholas Dugan saying not like I saw Tanner Scott coming because he predicted that coming. Everyone here, Justin Yamas, Kaylee, Maria G saying we broke baseball. Yeah, so a lot of comments here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're new to the Incline Dodgers podcast, we're here to answer any questions or talk about anything that you guys want to cover. But what an exciting time it is to be a Dodgers fan. So I'm looking at Jack Harris's timeline right now, and he reports that, to no surprise, the Dodgers had been pursuing Tanner Scott actually for multiple years now. And we've talked about that on the show in the past as a deadline target when Tanner Scott was wearing a Marlins uniform. Most certainly, we talked about the Dodgers need to try to trade for this guy. And then ultimately, he spent a couple months in San Diego before hitting free agency. Jack Harris also writes in his LA Times column that the Dodgers were in talks with Kirby Yates, and Kirby Yates was certainly an exciting fallback option as well. So even though they don't need Kirby Yates anymore, it's just reassuring knowing that the Dodgers were prioritizing bringing in another high leverage reliever. None of this reclamation stuff, even though oftentimes Andrew Friedman hits on the reclamation projects, but they didn't want to do that this time. They really like something in what they see in Tanner Scott. And Tanner Scott has kind of had a reputation of being one of the few pitchers that can shut down the Dodgers on a consistent basis. And now they get the arch nemesis, one of their kryptonites, and they get him to suit up just like they did with Blake Snell. And they're both now wearing Los Angeles Dodgers uniforms. So you look around the league at players that are out there that aren't going to be Dodgers, and the list gets thinner and thinner of guys that own historically the Dodgers. I mean, Christian Walker left the division. He is now suited up, I believe, out in Houston, so you don't have to worry about him in a D-backs uniform. The Padres are just continuing to spiral downwards, and they look like less of a threat going into the 2025 season. They have no money to sign anyone. You look at who the remaining options are, it doesn't look like the Padres are going to be able to make any impact signings. Corbin Burns going to Arizona obviously is a big boost for the D-backs. But if you look at the numbers of Corbin Burns versus the Dodgers historically, the Dodgers have actually fared pretty well against Corbin Burns. But he is still a very talented pitcher and most certainly will help Arizona in a wild card heat race. And then, of course, the Giants not moved by what they're doing at all. So let's go back to the very beginning of the offseason, and Juan Soto was on the board, and we got a lot of questions. We got a lot of comments, and it was a pretty divisive topic. There was probably half Dodger fans that said, you got to go all in on Juan Soto. You got to pay him whatever he wants. If Juan Soto is on the market, you give Juan Soto the bag and you go from there. And then you've got the chess players who obviously Andrew Friedman is one of them. Myself, Jake Reiner, we didn't want to buy into the Juan Soto hype at all. We felt like there was a way smarter and strategic way to allocate those funds. And it starts by giving money to some of the big prize free agent starting pitchers. And this show had a lot of emphasis saying you got to sign Blake Snell. And of course, pretty early into the offseason, the Dodgers signed Blake Snell. We wanted to be committed and remain loyal to Teoscar Hernandez because Teoscar was a huge phenom in the Dodgers postseason 2024 title run. You give Teoscar Hernandez what he wants. It took a little bit of time, but the Dodgers and Teoscar Hernandez came to agreement. Now you get him back for the next 3 years, and that's very exciting because he's a huge clutch bat and just a great chemistry fit. Another thing we talked about, you gotta re-sign Tommy Edman, your NLCS MVP, and they got that agreement done pretty early on. So now Tommy Edman will be a Dodger for the next 5 years. The one move I didn't see coming, there's two moves I didn't see coming. You've got Michael Conforto, who kind of replaces that Jason Hayward role. I didn't really see that move coming, but I like it. I think there's a lot of upside with Conforto's bat. And if he's right and healthy, he can easily get 25, maybe even 30 home runs if we're pushing our luck. But nonetheless, I think the floor for Michael Conforto is a 20 home run hitter. So I like the power there. And then they got the Korean superstar and Hae-Sun Kim. And when they made that move, the writing was definitely on the walls for Gavin Lux. There was not a single doubt in my mind that Gavin Lux's time with the Dodgers was over because you basically let the same type like type hitter, but a much more defensive and versatile player in Kim. So you now add Kim to the Dodgers, and he's going to play some second, some shortstop, could play even third if they need him to. And I think he's going to play a lot of outfield as well. So I love the move for Kim because he's a really good defensive weapon and kind of is the new Kike Hernandez and Chris Taylor. And then there was the chase for Roki Sasaki for an extended amount of time. But we were just given a lot of insight over the last day or so. Fabian Ardaya and The Athletic wrote a pretty good, insightful piece, and they went into great depth about the homework assignment that Roki Sasaki asked all the teams that were trying to get him to come to their franchise. And it was basically an assignment asking, how do you get the velocity back? What was going on with the 100-mile-per-hour? What was going on with my fastball? Why was it dipping in velocity? How do you fix that? And it sounds like the Dodgers gave the most insightful answer. We had teams giving them as long as 90-minute presentations. So obviously this was something that Roki Sasaki was very mindful of, and he's definitely looking to, improve. And you got to like a guy that's committed to finding the best version of himself. And we heard Shohei Ohtani was a big influence. And I think he was the one that ultimately texted Andrew Friedman saying that we got him. So Shohei, Yoshinobu Yamamoto playing a big influence, obviously, with Roki Sasaki coming to the Dodgers. And then today, the Dodgers boast up their bullpen. They re-signed Blake Trinan earlier in the offseason. Obviously, Blake Trinan was a huge influence and a huge factor in the Dodgers World Series title run. I mean, Blake Trinan earned that bag, and Blake Trinan was a World Series hero for the second time for the Los Angeles Dodgers, played a big part in 2020, played a massive part in 2024, closed out some games, pitched multiple innings, was even on a contract year, laid it all out there. And then Blake Trinan got that 2-year, $22 million contract. That was an easy decision. And now today, Tanner Scott comes to the Dodgers. You're looking at a super stacked bullpen. You've got 3 awesome lefties now with Tanner Scott, Alex Vesia, and Anthony Bonda. You've got sensational right-handed relievers with Michael Kopech, Evan Phillips, and the next tier, mix and match, Ryan Brazier. We'll see if Brusdar Graterol can come back in the second half, but hopefully you get something out of him. And then I guess that's really it. Then it's just the younger crowd. We'll see if Edgardo Henriquez can make the next step. He's going to probably start the year in AAA, but I think Henriquez, who can throw over 100 miles per hour too, he should play a pivotal part in the Dodgers bullpen maybe later on in the year. Jack Dreyer, who they protected from the Rule 5 draft, he's now on the Dodgers 40-man roster, so maybe we get to see a little bit out of him. Ben Kasparius, who was on the World Series team and pitched some postseason innings, he could definitely play a role as kind of like a long man and provide some multi-relief innings if the Dodgers need it. And I'm still kind of convinced that the Dodgers are going to work out a deal and re-sign Brent Honeywell, maybe into spring training on a minor league non-roster invite deal, because I think Brent Honeywell is a great clubhouse guy and is just willing to lay it all out there for the Dodgers and knows his role. So let's see if we got any questions right now. Let's see. So Nando 390, who's getting traded? Chris Taylor, Ryan Brazier. Both those guys are expiring contracts, and it could actually make a lot of sense for the Dodgers to move Ryan Brazier if they want to get some type of draft pick compensation or a prospect or some cash considerations. So, I don't necessarily know if Ryan Brazier is safe right now, if they feel like there's other guys out there that they could use their services. So we'll see what they do with Brazier. But obviously he's a 2-time World Series champion himself and can open games, can pitch in the high leverage spots. So you can't go wrong with keeping Ryan Brazier. Chris Taylor, I just don't think there's really a spot for Chris Taylor on this team anymore. I think the Dodgers definitely need to re-sign Kike Hernandez, and that's going to come at the expense of Chris Taylor. And if they have to just DFA him to bring back Kike Hernandez, that's a no sweat, no questions asked for me. Get rid of Chris Taylor if you got to create that roster spot for Kike Hernandez because he's just so important for the Dodgers in the postseason. Who is more torn up this morning, Padres fans or Blue Jays fans? This is coming from John. I mean, it's got to be the San Diego Padres. Last season was basically their World Series title year. It was probably the closest they had had an opportunity to win a World Series, and they ultimately lost to the Dodgers in the NLDS. And now they're just losing a lot of key pieces in free agency. They've lost guys for the season like Joe Musgrove, and they don't even have enough funds, it seems like, to scrap a competitive offer to Mr. Irrelevant, Jerks, and Profar. So I still think the Padres are going to tear it down later in this offseason and trade either, if not both, Dylan Cease and Luis Arias. But yeah, I think the Padres are kind of cooked. Beth Jansen can't wait for the season to start. Craig Osterberg, where does Jack Flaherty go? Well, we know Jack Flaherty is probably not coming to the Los Angeles Dodgers. We just don't need him anymore. And it's not to say that he's not good, but our starting pitching staff is set. And I know obviously injuries happen and you can never have enough starting pitching. But for right now, the Dodgers are chilling. We've got a 6-man rotation with some guys coming back. Shohei Ohtani and likely Clayton Kershaw will be a part of this Dodgers rotation midseason. And for Jack Flaherty, I honestly think the Toronto Blue Jays make a lot of sense. They were trying to get Roki Sasaki. They need a starting pitcher. Could also see Jack Flaherty maybe ending up in Detroit. I think a reunion with the Detroit Tigers would make a lot of sense. He pitched very great for them and seemed to be happy there. So I think those two are destinations. He's probably going to the American League. I don't think he's going to the NL West. Let's see what Machado said he would get a ring before the Dodgers ever did. I mean, the San Diego Padres are a laughing stock. The clubhouse culture that they've set there is part of one of the reasons this franchise just continues to underachieve. I mean, I put it on X and I think it got over 2,000 likes and a ton of retweets, but that tongue wagging video of Fernando Tatis Jr. pretty much puts together what it is like to be a San Diego Padre. The immaturity, the lack of aura, the embarrassment at times of what at one point the undeserved but named face of baseball in Fernando Tatis Jr., who ultimately got suspended a year for performing enhancing drugs, and then just kind of taunts fans during the NLDS, does that stupid tongue wag. Karma bites you in the ass. And this is why I don't think players are excited to join the San Diego Padres. Manny Machado is not a leader. Fernando Tatis Jr. is not a leader. Juan Soto didn't give a fuck when he was wearing a Padres uniform. He got out of there. He just wanted money. He did much better for the Yankees than he did for the San Diego Padres. And honestly, even the starting pitching staff, apparently Yu Darvish doesn't have the pool that people were trying to give him credit for, because not even Roki Sasaki had interest in teaming up with Yu Darvish. And they've gone through like 5 managers in the last 11 years or whatever it is. AJ Preller just trades players left and right. The lack of chemistry there is exactly why they're never going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers. For the next decade, the Dodgers are going to continue to run baseball, and the Padres will be the little brother. And that's all they're going to be for the foreseeable future. They will be the little brother of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Even the Arizona Diamondbacks made a World Series more recently than the San Diego Padres. Every team in the division is making the World Series more recently than the San Diego Padres. The Rockies did it. The D-backs did it, and the Giants won a few, but we don't have to talk about the Giants. Meanwhile, the Padres are kind of like the Clippers. They try all they want, they cry all they want, and they don't have anything to show for it. Steve A saying the Dodgers are the best run sports organization in the world. No doubt about it. This all started with Andrew Friedman coming to the Dodgers in 2015, and he had a plan, and he has established the best culture, a winning culture. They make the playoffs every year, and they've been to 4 World Series now under Andrew Friedman's watch. And it just seems like each offseason they get smarter, more tactical, and they attract the best stars. Maria G has Alex Vesia signed. No, last we checked, him and the Dodgers are heading towards an arbitration hearing. My expectation, though, is that the Dodgers are going to ultimately give Alex Vesia some type of small extension. I think Alex Vesia is definitely deserved any contract that he's asking within, the reasonable range of what he's projected to get. So if it's a couple $100,000, I don't think the Dodgers should cut him short of that. He had a 1.76 ERA for the Dodgers this most recent season and has just been kind of like that rubber arm lefty for them. He'll pitch 3 days in a row. He'll pitch 3 days in 5 days or whatever. The guy has just been insane for the Dodgers. Justin Yamas, Kevin not to rain on our parade. None of our 13 pitchers on our roster have options now, meaning they'd have to be DFA'd, traded if they were to be taken off the active roster. The way the Dodgers are going to be able to run through this is they'll manipulate the IL game, and injuries are just inevitable. So I'm not too worried about the Dodgers having to make tough roster decisions. That's just the reality of baseball. They're going to have to put guys on the IL. They're going to have to trade one or two players like a Dustin May. I could definitely see him getting traded pretty soon. If they feel like they can get a good value for Tony Gonsolin, then, you don't have to really hesitate on that. You can trade Tony Gonsolin too and get some top prospects. I mean, they did that with Michael Busch and now Zaire Hope and Jackson Farrell are some of their top prospects. So if you can do that with Tony Gonsolin, doesn't bother me. You still got guys like Nick Frasso, Bobby Miller, who could potentially be a part of this Dodgers rotation. And I'm going to talk about Bobby Miller more in the offseason, but I think is going to have the big bounce back year for the Dodgers, and he's going to kind of be an X factor, but we'll see. Roy Estrada, Kevin, do a search on Jim Bowden and his time as GM with the Nationals. You want to talk about Jim Bowden? Jim Bowden is your idiot of the week. Jim Bowden is such a moron. This guy tried to create a platform of basically saying that the Dodgers and Roki Sasaki are not going to be a thing. He was saying there's an 85 to 90% chance that Roki Sasaki's not going to pick the Dodgers. This guy was having the most wacky out of left field predictions of where Roki Sasaki was going to go. He was telling us he's going to go to some small market like Tampa Bay or Cleveland where no one gives a crap about spending money there. And then Jim Bowden the other day on Foul Territory starts whining and goes on a rant and tangent that the Dodgers and Roki Sasaki had some secret handshake deal that was colluding Major League Baseball. And then, of course, Bob Nightingale, and I think may have been Jack Harris or one of the LA reporters, kicked him in the ass and debunked that immediately, at saying that Major League Baseball already looked into this and there was no insider trading, no prearranged agreement. Ultimately, Roki Sasaki chose the Dodgers, even though the Padres were willing to go up to $10 million. Roki Sasaki said, hell no, I don't want to be teammates with Manny Machado. I'm joining the Dodgers, and the rest is history. So Jim Bowden, idiot of the week. What a moron. The guy needs to break something for me to give him credibility, because for a guy that was connected this deep in Major League Baseball, it's kind of embarrassing that Jim Bowden doesn't get anything right. He still is the guy that said Nolan Arenado will be a Dodger by Christmas. Joey Bercara, is Kike out of the picture? I'm not convinced, though. I think Kike Hernandez is coming back. So it's just a wait and see. We're about a little under a month away from technically the start of spring training, I believe. And that's when you can start to move guys to the 60-day IL. And that'll naturally open up 5 roster spots. And the Dodgers can give one of those to Kershaw, one of those to Kike. Roki will get bumped up and get one of those. It's all a waiting game. Cool Raptor 279. Let's go Dodgers. F the haters. Haven't seen you before. Cool Raptor. Welcome to the show. Appreciate all you guys tuning into this breaking live stream of Tanner Scott to the Dodgers. Hit that like button while you're here. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button or want those notifications on, it does us a solid. So thank you guys for watching. I'm going to continue to read the chat and get to your guys' questions in a few moments. So get those in the chat. But Tanner Scott, coming to the Dodgers. Jeff Passan reporting that the Dodgers luxury tax payroll will exceed 375 million. That is about 70 million more than the next highest team, which are the Phillies. The Yankees are the only other team with a CBD payroll projected to be over $300 million. When it's all said and done, with the addition of Tanner Scott and some following moves to come, the Dodgers payroll is probably going to hit close, if not exceed, $400 million. Because with time, there will be some incentives and bonuses that hit when the Dodgers have to purchase and call up guys from AAA. That'll get added to the payroll. They may have to make a move or two at the trade deadline as well. So I would not be surprised if the Dodgers payroll hits or exceeds $400 million. And that's just a testament to this organization, showing they're not complacent. They're not good with one title from this most recent season. They want to go back to back. They want to be the first team since the Yankees of the early 2000s to be repeat World Series champions. And I've never seen this, or I should say, I haven't seen this since the likes of the New York Yankees, where they win the World Series and they're even more aggressive in the following offseason. And that's just, that just shows you how much this ownership cares, how much Andrew Friedman is invested in this team, and the players themselves. They are all committed to winning. So I guess you could say, as Dodger fans, we should be very, very grateful right now that this is our team, and it's the best time to be a Dodgers fan. It just leaves me speechless. So Roy Estrada, here's a real question. Who gets traded to make room on the 40-man roster? I don't know who Mike is. Maybe he meant Kike will get signed. So we talked about Dustin May. I still think Dustin May is going to get traded. I just do not trust his health and durability. I don't think he makes sense to be a starting pitcher for this team anymore because he's going to be a free agent after the year. I highly doubt he wants to get moved to the bullpen because that's going to really hurt his market value. So I think Dustin May gets traded. I think Chris Taylor will not make the roster as well. I think the Dodgers either just DFA Chris Taylor, put him on a fake 60-day IL. Oh, you stubbed your toe, Chris Taylor. You're out till June now. They got to get creative there. But yeah, Chris Taylor shouldn't be on this team. And then Michael Grove's the other casualty. You got to get rid of Michael Grove. Michael Grove is not good. The guy is a home run derby machine, and he sucks. So I still think Michael Grove is off this Dodgers team when the season starts, because where is there room to pitch Michael Grove unless it's like the last 2 years where there's a bunch of injuries to start the season. So toodles, Michael Grove. We'll remember you as someone that was awful. Glenn Kamita, could the Dodgers' best all-around lineup include Andy Pages in center field? Yes, is my answer. I'm a big Andy Pages fan. I think, especially against left-handed pitchers, which should be kind of what we see to begin the Tokyo series, Andy Pages in center field, Tommy Edman at second base, because they seem to be committed to having Mookie Betts at shortstop, whether you like it or not. Jeremy Bird, how many future Hall of Famers are on this team? Well, we can count Kershaw. So Kershaw is going to be unanimous once he signs. Besides that, obviously, Shohei Ohtani will become a Hall of Famer. They're going to retire 17. Mookie Betts is a Hall of Famer. They will retire number 50. Freddie Freeman is a Hall of Famer. Don't know if they'll retire his number. He might go in as an Atlanta Brave, but Freddie Freeman is a Hall of Famer nonetheless. Is that it? And that might be it. It's just those big three. I don't think Will Smith's a Hall of Famer. I wouldn't. Muncy, Teoscar, they're not Hall of Famers. Blake Snell is certainly a possibility. He's got the 2 Cy Youngs. He doesn't have a high enough WAR yet. Obviously, he's got 6 more years to stockpile. Blake Snell is not a Hall of Famer at this moment in time, but if he wins a 3rd Cy Young, I think you have to put him in the Hall of Fame. And then with Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Roki Sasaki, 1 year of Major League Baseball total experience right now, it's too early to know if they're Hall of Famers. And Tyler Glasnow has been hurt too much. He's not a Hall of Famer. Zach, dude, why are Dodgers channels always talking about the Padres? We're talking about the Padres a lot because They earned it. They deserved it. They talk so much shit for having no titles to their name. They want to be the Dodgers, yet they can't beat the Dodgers. And they try to go after the same players that we do. And you want to hear a little recap? Blake Snell used to be a San Diego Padre. They let him walk in free agency. A year and a half later, he's a Los Angeles Dodger. Tanner Scott, they traded some very high key prospects to get 2 months of Tanner Scott. Now he's a Los Angeles Dodger. When Boston Red Sox made Mookie Betts available, the San Diego Padres were the other team, really aggressive in the Mookie Betts chase. But they were telling the Red Sox, you got to take Will Myers. And I mean, that's just negligence. That's arrogance right there. Nobody wants Will Myers. Mookie Betts ended up a Los Angeles Dodger. And then Roki Sasaki, the Padres felt like they were going to get him. This was their guy. This was going to make or break their offseason. Their offseason is now broken. Roki Sasaki is a Los Angeles Dodger. And last season, the Padres and the Dodgers faced in the NLDS. The Padres were up 2-1, and then they went 24 innings straight scoreless, and the Dodgers go on to win the World Series. Dalton Rushing from Glenn Comita. The Dodgers are pretty optimistic. Dalton Rushing will make the Dodgers roster mid-season. I don't think Dalton Rushing will be an opening day lineup guy. There's just not enough room. But if there's an injury or a struggling player, you can see Dalton Rushing definitely make the Dodgers later on this season. Let's see what else we've got here. We're about 30 minutes in. So if you guys have more questions or comments for the show, I will try to read the best ones off here right now. As I continue to scroll through the chat right now, I see Aeronatic in here. He's saying that the Cubs, he's laughing hysterically at the Cubs on the Scott stuff. The Cubs were another team that were trying to go after Tanner Scott. Obviously, that didn't happen, and Tanner Scott is now wearing a Los Angeles Dodgers uniform. I don't know if there will be a press conference for Tanner Scott, maybe some type of lighter press conference because, that's a pretty significant contract that he signed. Roki Sasaki will probably get his press conference first. And it looks like Miguel Rojas was teasing on his Instagram that he's going to switch numbers. So Miguel Rojas might be wearing like 72. And with that, Roki Sasaki might be wearing number 11 for the Los Angeles Dodgers. So just going through the chat real quick, see if there's any other questions. Don't see anything right now. So, okay, so let's go back to some of the Tanner Scott stuff. So, credit to Mark Feinstein again. He was the one that broke the news that Tanner Scott was coming to the Dodgers, 4-year, $72 million contract. I think with that type of contract, you can expect Tanner Scott to be the closer for the Dodgers. Evan Phillips will be a fireman and setup reliever. Blake Trinan, likewise. So you've got Tanner Scott in the 9th inning. You've got Evan Phillips, Blake Trinan. They can cover the 7th and the 8th. Alex Vesia mixed in there too. I mean, the bridge to Tanner Scott is already loaded. Now you've got a beast of a guy in the 9th inning. This Dodgers bullpen on paper has a chance to go down as maybe the best Dodgers bullpen that we have ever seen as Dodger fans. And the ones in 2021, the ones in 2020, basically 2020 and on, they've all been very elite. But this is some special company. I mean, you add a guy in Tanner Scott who's he's 30 now. Coming off a season where he finished with a 4 WAR, he went 9-6 with a 1.75 ERA across 72 games with both the Marlins and the Padres. 84 strikeouts over 84 innings thrown. If we look at the Savant page for Tanner Scott, a guy who I've gotten to see pitch in person, I know for a fact he can throw a fastball that reaches 100 miles per hour. I mean, that's just a deadly arsenal to have in your pen. So if we look at the Tanner Scott Savant page real quick, So let's pull that up here and kind of get a visualization of what the Dodgers just landed. So here you go. The one thing that Tanner Scott appears to struggle with is walks. He does typically walk more than above average, which is the one weakness in his game. And you can see in the whip that was something that hurt him in 2022, a 1.6 whip with a 4 ERA. But these last 2 years, he's really found his element. 2.31 ERA in 2023, whip below 1, had 104 strikeouts. Then a better ERA in 2024, 1.75 ERA. Drop off in the strikeouts, but still an excellent K through 9 and a whip of barely above 1. But the pitching run value, elite stuff. The expected ERA, expected batting average, the average velocity, average exit velocity. So he generates a ton of soft contact. This guy is just filthy. He throws a four-seamer the majority of the time, 59%, mixing that slider. He's basically a two-pitch pitcher, fastball, slider, both devastating pitches. The fastball you can see here last season, opponents only hit 134 against that fastball. He only gave up 1 home run, and the whiff rate, 29%. Then the slider was his other pitch he threw. 231 batting average against, 2 home runs. So in all, 72 innings, I think I said he threw. He only gave up 3 home runs in that frame. So that's some elite stuff right there. Good whiff percentage as well. So that's what you're getting in Tanner Scott. You can see the year before, just as good, more whiffs though. But again, just 3 home runs. So you get this guy with a ton of red. He's joining the Dodgers. Best free agent pitcher on the market, in my opinion. I think most people would agree. Very exciting ad for the Dodgers. Someone that the Dodgers were trying to pursue for a couple years now. And I know that they were in on him during the trade deadline. And we saw that the Padres may have overpaid for him. And that's why the Dodgers decided to get probably Michael Kopech instead, because it cost them Miguel Vargas and a couple guys that are probably not going to ever make the majors. So what a time right now. What a time. Let's see what else we've got going on in the chat. Let's see if we've got any questions. XOXO, when will the Sasaki signing be official? I think it could be as early as tomorrow, Monday morning, where the Dodgers announced the Roki Sasaki move. I think they still had a couple things they had to do behind the scenes, like medicals, and they're probably trying to schedule a press conference. Frankie Honolulu's, do you think the lineup is better than last year? Seems like no improvement was made. I'm not sure how much of an upgrade Conforto is. So the goal really for the Dodgers lineup was not to improve it, because it's hard to improve something that's already nearly flawless. The one thing that we worry about for some of these guys is they're another year older. So the question might be, does Max Muncy lose a step? Does he drop off with some power? Do all the innings that Will Smith have caught throughout his career, does that start to take a toll on him? Teoscar Hernandez is a year older. Does he have some regression? He just had a career high in home runs hit. Shohei Ohtani is entering his prime. Not worried about him. But yeah, Mookie Betts and Friedman as well. Both of them are getting older. So in terms of the youth part, there is maybe some cause for concern, but it shouldn't be much. I don't expect any major regression, at least at this point in time. But I do think naturally the Dodgers lineup is better because you get rid of Gavin Lux. You add more versatility in Kim. I think Conforto is an upgrade over when they had Jason Hayward. And so for now, I think the Dodgers' goal here with the lineup is it's a horizontal pivot. You want to be where you were. You don't want to go backwards. They didn't really need to go forward. You just needed to rinse and repeat, where the Dodgers really needed to focus and improve upon this offseason, and they most certainly did. It was when they got Blake Snell, obviously. They needed to add that big starter in the rotation. As much as Walker Buehler was a World Series hero and forever a Dodgers legend, he did struggle in the regular season, and you just don't know if there's going to be more drop-off for Walker Buehler, and I think that's why his market was where it was. He only gets that 1-year contract from the Red Sox. But besides Walker Buehler, so you improve with Blake Snell, You add Blake Snell, and then you get Roki Sasaki. You add Roki Sasaki. So you're going to lose Bueller. You're going to lose Flaherty, but you get Blake Snell. You get Roki Sasaki. And then the bullpen, they brought back a lot of the guys. They got rid of some of the trash or some of the bad pieces. Like Joe Kelly's currently not on the team. And you re-sign Blake Tryon. And now you add Tanner Scott. And you've got an elite bullpen. So the Dodgers, I think, from a pitching perspective, combine that with an awesome offense, and you're looking at a team very poised to be the massive front runner to win the World Series in 2025. Carlos Gomez, quite different from the Frank McCourt years. No doubt about it. Frank McCourt can rot in hell for wasting so many years of our lives. Scroll through the chat. One other comment I want to make, and I wasn't the first one to say this, so I'm not going to take credit, but I do feel like when the Astros cheated the Dodgers in 2017, they woke up a sleeping giant. And what I mean by that is if the Dodgers had won the World Series in 2017, I don't think we get the John Wick out for revenge Dodgers that we see today. And I also think because all the other 29 fan bases who were heavily invested in their team during the 2020 season, and then the minute the Dodgers win, they try to discredit us and say it doesn't count. I think that really bothered this Dodgers organization. I think it really bothered Andrew Friedman. And I think they were motivated to prove to the rest of Major League Baseball this is a formidable franchise and they are capable of winning 162 game World Series seasons. And so the Dodgers did that. And we've gone from the team that no one took serious because they felt like we were incapable of winning in October. And now everyone wants to try to handicap and stop the Dodgers from winning at all costs. And they're shaking in their boots. So congratulations to the New York Mets. You got Juan Soto. Well, we got Blake Snell, Roki Sasaki, Tanner Scott, brought back Teoscar Hernandez, Conforto, Edman, Treinen, and more. So I think we know who won the World Series there. Just a hell of an offseason. Andrew Friedman is probably the greatest thing to happen to the Los Angeles Dodgers. The guy is a winner, and we are just in the best position possible. And I don't want to hear it from the other fan bases acting like we are at a major advantage with our ownership. You look around some of these other owners in Major League Baseball, and Steve Cohen makes more than anyone else. He's got a $16 billion owner. Edward Rogers of the Blue Jays, he's got $11.5 billion to his name. John Malone, who owns the Braves, he's got over $6 billion. And it's not like the Braves are at some disadvantage. They hold these guys hostage to sign cheap-ass contracts like they did with Ronald Acuna Jr., Austin Riley, Spencer Strider. And then the Lerner family that owns the Nationals, why haven't they spent money the last 3 years? They got rid of Juan Soto. They freed up that contract space, and they're not signing anyone. So they're a joke. The Guardians are another one. They're owned by partially owned by the Dolan family. They're very wealthy. They don't need to be cheap. So I don't want to hear it. It's a bunch of excuses. It's the only reason that they're just jealous because the Dodgers actually give a shit. So I don't care. So this will be my last call for final questions. As probably going to end the stream in a couple minutes. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. Very lively show. Looks like we hit like a couple hundred people following live. So appreciate all you guys for tuning in. And if you haven't hit that like button on your way out, it's the one thing I ask. Give us that like button and let's see. So let me share the Discord. If you guys want to join the Discord chat, more than happy to have you guys in here. This chat is on top of it, I must say. Everything from the Roki Sasaki news to immediately the news of Tanner Scott breaking. And during this regular season, we talk about all the games as they go on live. So there's a live chat. So you can join the Discord. I just dropped it below in the YouTube's chat section of the page. So just let me get my final thoughts together real quick. So here we are, January 19th. The Dodgers offseason is probably near an end in terms of all the big moves they've had to make. I don't know if they have anything left in them. This roster is loaded. Excited to see what they do. in the 2025 season. Just a sensational year for the Dodgers, going from World Series champions to now crushing it this offseason. And I'm very excited. So the rotation, you have to imagine coming out of spring training into opening day, you'll have Snell, Glass now, Yamamoto, Sasaki, probably Gonsolin, and then that sixth spot, if they go six-man right out of the gate, Landon Knack might compete for it. Maybe Nick Frost is healthy and he surprises us. And then the bullpen, we've gone through the bullpen already. We know who's going to be in the bullpen. So this Dodgers 26-man roster, it's pretty filled out right now. They're going to have to make a cut or two to make it work. And the Dodgers 40-man roster, which I think might also be full now because of the Tanner Scott addition. Another move or two is probably coming. But the Dodgers are just they're the top dog. They are the premier face of Major League Baseball, and appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Everyone have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy the holiday. Thank you guys for watching. Tanner Scott and Roki Sasaki over a Friday through Sunday stretch both announced they're coming to the Dodgers. So here we go. Let's ride. More predictions, more shows to come. We'll probably do another live stream tomorrow. Thank you guys for watching. Incline Dodgers.